It's Roger here from What's on DisneyPlus.com. A quick news update for you guys on Pixar laying off a number of its employees. But before we go any further, make sure you do hit that subscribe button to keep up with the latest Disney Plus news. So as we all know, Pixar's had a pretty ropey last few years, with a number of its films being sent straight to streaming, including Luca, Soul and Turning Red. Plus also Onward just didn't do very well at the box office because of the pandemic hitting just like a week after. And then we had the box office dud of Lightyear. Well, it looks like things are starting to be changed there, because unfortunately the Hollywood Reporter has said that 175 employees are going to be let go, which is about 14% of their total employees. Now this is actually a little bit down on what was estimated. They were expecting it's going to be about 20%, so it's a little bit less than that. And yeah, this is all part of Disney's way of trying to cut costs, and Pixar has been kind of hit with this like every other studio has. Now the reason primarily for this is that they're going to be refocusing more on theatrical releases. They are going to be making less projects. Bob Iger has spoken in the past about making less but making better stuff, and Pixar is obviously coming out with that. And I think the timing of this is probably more to do with the fact that Inside Out 2 which is due out next month. A lot of the work on that will now be completed. We've also got another Pixar project, Win or Lose, which is due out at some point this year. I suspect they've held that one back until after Inside Out 2 because they want to make sure that it's seen as a big hit. And yeah, so those people, maybe there's just people that aren't needed to be moved on to other projects, which is like Elio, which is coming out next summer. That has already been pushed back 15 months as it is. And obviously they are also working on a new Toy Story film, and they'll be working on other things because it does take years and years for these films to come in. But I suspect with them cutting back on how much stuff they're making, they're not going to need to be having as many workers, so therefore they're not going to need to replace them. So this ultimately I think is a good thing for Pixar in the long run, because it has suffered trying to make more content for Disney Plus. We've seen some short series, some shorts, even Win or Lose, even though I think that's going to be the last series we see from them. I don't think they'll be doing that again. They want to get Pixar back to being a premier brand with big box office numbers. And at the moment, that just does not seem to be working with the way they're doing it. And I think by refocusing, hopefully things will get better. I think Inside Out 2 is going to be a big hit. Hope so, because it looks great and I can't wait to watch it. Maybe as well giving Elio an extra 15 months development time. That means they can tweak it, make some improvements to the story, change some things. But yes, giving them a little bit more longer for it. And also just getting us more used to feeling Pixar's special. Now, I kind of feel like with the push to streaming, Pixar definitely got the blunt end of the stick with the idea of all their films got released straight onto Disney Plus. I think Turning Red probably could have had a theatrical release, but when they initially had to make that decision, there was a big flare up and they kind of had to make that last minute thing. And I think sometimes we kind of look back at what happened during that era, not remembering just how crazy it was and some of the decisions they had to make. Things like Soul definitely made sense for them. They needed something for Disney Plus at that time. But with Walt Disney Animation, they still ended up releasing some of them in cinemas, things like Raya and the Last Dragon and Encanto. They didn't do amazingly well, but they at least still had that prestige of having that release rather than straight to Disney Plus. And they're trying to unravel that and get people back into going to cinemas and making money. And yeah, unfortunately Pixar ramping up production, and in some ways they never really went full on in. I mean, in some ways we were lucky if we were getting 2 projects a year for them. But they just weren't able to maximize on that in the same way, and things suffered. I think a lot of this may be more down on the creative side of them taking a few more risks than maybe they should have done, and that just didn't work out. The audiences just weren't there for the stories that they came out with, which is a shame. I mean, I thought Luca was I enjoyed that film, but it was a little bit more basic than when we've seen from Pixar. Lightyear was a little bit of a mess in terms of what they were trying to do, and I think that was the biggest problem with Lightyear, was that whole aspect. And I enjoyed Turning Red, but Soul was probably the one I'm like, yeah, that one going straight to streaming wasn't a big issue to me, because it's not my favourite film out of all the Pixar ones. But it obviously sucks for those that have lost their jobs. This is not good on their point, but hopefully in the long run, now Pixar can kind of pick itself up and become back being that premium studio that we all remember. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Do you think this is a good thing? Do you not? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Remember to go check us out over at what's on at DisneyPlus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. And I shall see you guys soon. Laters.